Hey everyone, my name is theSirhc and welcome back to another episode here on the Decidedly Vanilla server. We're up in our tower at our Sea Haven cottage. We do have a house here at Sea Haven that we haven't been to in a very long time. I mean, maybe we've been here, but we haven't worked on it, and it's looking pretty bare and empty. I'd like to get back here and actually get some stuff done here, but we're busy out in our Dye City doing some stuff. We'll be back out in the Dye City later in this episode. I wanted to start here at Sea Haven though, first off, because that is looking really cool from up here. It's looking a lot different. We're getting a few more shops here at Sea Haven. We have the giant wheat field from Thanksgiving. We have the windmill over there, all the trees and roads in, or at least some of them. And it's looking really nice. It's looking a lot more full. It's looking like an actual town down there. I like it. But we are mainly here to check out the new Mojang textures that they're coming out with. You can kind of see things look a little bit different. So Jappa, they have a guy named Jappa working on some new textures, trying to make everything look a little bit more cohesive and give a new flavor, a new style to the vanilla look. And we're going to kind of take a look today, see what we think of them. I should say, see what I think of them. I'm not speaking for everyone here. But as we go through, we're just going to kind of walk through everywhere, and I'll give my thoughts. First off, one of my biggest complaints about this resource pack, and not everything is going to be a complaint. I do have some positives. But one of my biggest complaints is that some of the textures look really bubbly. Bubbly is the word that really pops up. I've seen I think a lot of other people think the same thing too. Like with these planks. These planks are a good example. I can see that they've tried to add a little bit more depth to them or shading to the planks, and I almost feel like it's maybe too much. I'm not entirely sure. But the planks look very rounded, and when you just look at them, like I said, it looks like they're rounded and bubbly, like the planks are just kind of bubbling out. You can see it a little bit as well with these stone bricks, and I think cobblestone is the biggest one. Now, I know one thing that Jappa has been kind of doing with a lot of the textures is trying to make them a lot smoother, take out a lot of the sharpness, I guess the pixelation, you could say, in these 16 by 16 pixel textures, which is definitely an interesting challenge of trying to make them look less pixelated by making them smoother. And when you do that, it makes them look more rounded. And I think that's where some of the bubbliness is coming out. He's taking some of the contrast out of them, which I think the cobblestone here could use a bit more of. Like the darks just aren't quite dark enough in between the rocks there, in between the different stones. And yeah, I'm not sure really how you would fix what you would adjust to make the planks look slightly better. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest complaint with this resource pack is the bubbliness. I think it makes the whole thing look slightly more cartoony, which maybe that's what they want to go for. I mean, this is, I guess, a game that a lot of people say is for kids, although there are many of us in our 20s, 30s, older, who love playing this game just because it's a very fun, creative outlet to build these amazing things in. But anyways, that is one of my major thoughts. We can kind of look at the front here, see how some of these stone things mix together. The andesite, I'm not entirely sure. I kind of like it. It has a little bit more like horizontal striations to it, which I don't think the default has. So when you have like a big clump of andesite, I think it looks a little bit better. I do think the colors are maybe a little bit off. They don't quite match as well with these stones, the other stone blocks, as it does in the old default textures. It'd be nice if maybe that could be changed. I don't know if it's like a little bit too blue or something. It's not terrible, but it does seem just a little bit off to me. The logs aren't too bad. We can see lots of dark oak around here. One thing I have my own edited vanilla textures, and one thing I've done to like the logs is I've added shading to the outside to make them a little bit more round. So to me, this doesn't look great because I'm used to that shading. I really like the shading on the logs. It makes them look a lot less flat and a bit more interesting. And I could definitely add in the shading if I update my resource pack to this, which I think I do plan on doing. Once they have all these new textures done and edited and like released as the default textures, I'll probably go through and start kind of applying some changes that I think could be fixed, like I have done with the current default textures. One thing I really do love is the new leaf textures. The dark oak looks really nice. I think it's actually, like, I can't entirely tell. It's hard to tell with this, especially with the shaders and the lighting we have here. But I think the oak and the dark oak are still the same, which sort of makes sense. They are both technically oak. I think it'd be nice, though, if the dark oak maybe had slightly bigger leaves than the oak leaves. Again, without placing these next to each other, I can't entirely tell, but they do look very, very similar. And so, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit of difference there. But if we find some, like, birch leaves somewhere, I think we'd have to go back this way. Yeah, over here we have the birch leaves and the birch logs. It looks pretty good. I don't mind it. I don't mind the logs any more than I mind the current birch logs. But I know they've redone the leaf textures for all of the trees, and they're looking not too shabby. One huge change we can see, it doesn't look very different from my personal resource pack, but from default, this is a huge improvement. We actually have wheat-colored wheat. Isn't it beautiful? It's no longer that yucky green color. I do think the hay blocks could use some texture change. They have changed a little bit, but I would not say for the better. I don't even know, like, this almost looks worse than the default hay bales. That definitely needs to be less saturated. It's very yellow, way too yellow. We can go through here though, look at the paths. The gravel is interesting. It's almost a little more red. Again, we have these blocks that people like to mix together, like the stones, the cobblestone, stone bricks, gravel, andesite. All of those kind of had the same colors before, and now they're slightly different, which I guess in one sense isn't a bad thing. It does add slightly more variation when you mix these blocks together, which in some applications can be good, but if you do want blocks that are all just kind of one color palette, all just that gray with just texture variations, this might kind of screw things up for you a little bit. And I think I saw like a mossy cobble. Yeah, there's some mossy cobble, which is interesting. It's maybe a little bit too mossy for my taste, but otherwise not bad. So we can take a closer look at Sea Haven with the new textures. The enchantment table, that looks interesting. The cloth is very purpley, which I don't really know how I feel about that. We got the new obsidian texture, which we'll take a look at closer later. We have emerald blocks here, looking very pointy and strange. I mean, I never really used the emerald blocks before. I would never use the current default emerald blocks. I don't think they don't look good. This maybe looks better. I'm not entirely sure really how I feel about that. We have some gold blocks up there too, which have like almost like the chiseled design in them. Not terrible. Again, like the other gold blocks, they were kind of flat and boring. So maybe that is slightly better, makes them look a little bit more ornate. I don't know if they're going to change the iron blocks yet. This is kind of one problem with the resource pack that I have at the moment, is that not everything is done, and so it's hard to really get a feel for everything together when you have old textures like this that I feel don't really mix very well anymore when you have like the updated resource blocks. I do really like the flowers. Like these dandelions look really nice. I think there's some nice like the smoothing really goes well with those. I think that looks nice. Is there any more flowers around here? Well, here we have some too tall flowers in our dye shop basement, And yeah, I think they're looking better. Like the rose and the lilac look a lot less spindly, and like they looked really thin and sparse. I think that looks a little bit better. They haven't wrecked the peony. The peony is probably my favorite too tall flower. That looks pretty good. The sunflower, I don't know, it doesn't look that different, maybe a little bit. Glowstone looks interesting. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Like it's kind of like they just made it darker, or I don't know, it almost looks more blotchy, I guess. Brick still looks really weird in default. That is, I don't know. I think it could be made a lot redder. That's what I've done in my resource pack. I think it looks maybe a little bit too bland and pale. And here's the new obsidian. I do like kind of the striations that they've added to it. It makes it look a little bit more like solidified lava flow, which obsidian is basically. I still think it's maybe a bit too purple. I mean, it makes sense that it is purple with the portal being purple, but it's hard to use that block in other areas. Like it's a really nice, it could be a really nice black block. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I wanted to hop in here to our quadruple spawner to see what this place looks like. The concretes and the glass don't look too different. Actually, there is a new glass texture, but I think it's just for the plain glass. They haven't updated the stained glass at all. The chest, obviously, this isn't the new chest. This is it's Christmas, so we have Christmas boxes for chests, which is neat. The redstone lamps look very strange. I don't think I like those at all. I think they could maybe use a bit more black in them. I don't really like how brown that is around the outside, and it looks, I don't know, it looks weird. When it's lit up, it's not too bad. Not too bad. One thing I do really like is the items. I think the items have gotten a really good overhaul. The rotten flesh has like little bits of green fungi, you know, like mold growing on there or something. Very rotten. The bones have a bit more like structure to them. The buckets are interesting. I'm not entirely sure about those. Looks like armor and bows are the same. Actually, it looks like a lot of those are the same. What else do we got? Mushrooms are looking interesting. Nether wart looks a bit like, it looks better. It looks like less flat. I think the default nether wart is really like straight, and then it's just got like a circle on top. This looks more organic. Soul sand is interesting. Maybe we'll find some more in the nether to see like a big group of it. But like, look at that water bottle. I think that looks really cool. The textures they have going on in there. So this right here is what the nether looks like now. It is different. The netherrack is a bit more streaky, which looks kind of interesting. It does look really weird with like the textures. They rotate every block, so it's not just the same tile over. So you kind of have streaks kind of going every way. Hi, how are you? Oh, what? You guys, no, come on. Just go away. Whoop. Alright, we'll fly out of here. That stupid pigman. That's the first time I've done that on this server. I don't know if they can get me up here. Anyways, let's keep trying to talk about the textures. So we have the soul sand there, which is looking interesting. I don't really know how I feel about it. I do like, you can see kind of the ghosts, the souls of the soul sand a little bit better. It does look a lot more flat, because again, they've kind of taken that sharpness, that contrast out of it. So there's not a whole lot of difference between the darks and the lights. And it's looking maybe a little bit too flat, especially next to the very busy netherrack that we have there. I think nether brick has gotten a slightly different texture. The blocks are slightly different there. This is fun, isn't it? Running away from pigmen as we do this. Magma blocks, I'm not sure if those got any different. It'd be nice to see those looking a bit more like netherrack, like it's sort of an in-between of lava and the netherrack. I think that would look a little bit better. And I think that might be about it. And then we have the glowstone up here, which, I don't know, looks like normal glowstone for the most part, maybe a little bit smoother. And then we have Rangin Shahar here, and my biggest complaints are the same complaints I've had. The sandstone, just like the cobble, is a little bit too bubbly, and like a lot of the other blocks. Most of the other complaints I have are the same ones I have for default, like the cactus is way too vibrant green. They really need to change that. They need to make it like the same color, at least as green concrete, or even just green dye. Oh, here we have some of the spruce leaves. Those look pretty interesting. I like the colors of those. But like here we have the green dye, and then here you have the green cactus. These should look the same, in my opinion. I've never seen a cactus that is this vibrant green. It's a bad texture. Here we have some more of that cobbly texture. I think one of my biggest complaints with how smooth they're making some of these textures is that Minecraft is a game made up of blocks, of these big blocks here that are 16 by 16 textures. And this is actually, it's a similar problem that I have with like faithful texture packs that increase the resolution but keep like the same look as default. It's that it smooths out the textures, but then you have blocks right next to each other. You have these hard lines. Like when you build in Minecraft, you're always going to have these hard lines between blocks, and when you have a very smooth texture like this, when you smooth everything out, it almost makes those like sharp differences between blocks more apparent and a little bit like more out of place. Whereas if you have some of that sharpness in the texture itself, it doesn't look as bad when you switch from one texture to another, because you already have some sharpness in the texture, and then you have this sharp line to like this other flat texture. I think that looks a little bit better if you go that way. This is our squid farm with the new textures. Very interesting looking. I don't know if they've changed. Yeah, the concrete powder looks pretty much the same. Concretes are all pretty similar. Looks like the wools are pretty similar. I have finished this thing, by the way. I've put in all the wood in here. We got the wood railing around the steps, and I put all these wood logs. I think that's looking a little bit better. A lot less like just monotone down here. Over here we got the acacia leaves and the acacia logs. I like the fact that the leaves are different from the oak now, and those are looking pretty nice. And the logs, I don't know, I think they're just a little bit smoother than the default logs. Over here we have some crops. We got the wheat, carrots, beetroot, and potatoes, and those are looking fine. Like I said, I like the wheat. These are maybe still a little too vibrant for my taste, the green that they have going on there, but not bad. And here is our main base, our palace. I've been doing some work here, trying to figure out what I want to do for the outside, playing around with some logs. I like the way that the staircase is looking. Still needs some work, but I think it's turning out pretty well. I want to use the cyan as kind of the main color block in here. But this is what the inside looks like, again, with all of our Christmas chests and lots of podzol. BJ went and gathered some and left some for us. Give a man podzol and he'll have it for a day. Teach a man to dig his own podzol and he'll have it forever. Michael Scott. I left you 3.5 stacks of podzol. BJ, remember to use Silk Touch shovel or it'll just be dirt. And he actually left us a Silk Touch shovel, so that is awesome because I did not have one. I did have some of it blow up over here. I had a creeper explode. Luckily it didn't get any of my chests, but it did ruin some of the podzol. So that's really cool. I don't know what we might use this for, but I always kind of forget about podzol because it's something that you really have to go find the mega taiga for, and then you have to kind of ruin a mega taiga to get. But it is a really nice dirt block. Ooh, I just noticed the blaze rod in the middle of the brewing stand. That looks really neat. I wonder what the actual blaze rod looks like. We probably don't have any. I have some blaze powder, but I think I've turned it all into blaze powder. But there we have a bunch of items. That flint, that looks interesting. That's not too bad. What does it look by itself? Yeah. Huh. Again, I like a lot of the item work that that's going on here. I think these benefit a lot more from the smoothing and the detailing that he's been doing. I think that benefits a lot more than some of these blocks do. Oh, and here we have the diamond block. The diamonds are pretty interesting. I don't really have a problem with that. We got some lapis blocks here. Lapis is looking cool. Looks like redstone is the same. The redstone blocks. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to edit that at all, but that looks pretty much the same. Maybe it is a little bit different. I'm really not sure. But the lapis block, I think that looks pretty good. I can't really remember what the normal lapis block looks like. Again, it's one that I wouldn't really use normally. I could see myself using that one though. And then the diamond block, looking a lot more ornate than the normal diamond. It's not bad. It's not bad. One thing with this resource pack, I will say, is when I first looked at it, everything looked awful. My initial gut reaction was, this is all terrible. And that's part of the reason why I haven't said a whole lot about them till now, is like, I knew that it was basically just because it looked different and it was just change. And my initial reaction, like most people, is that, ugh, that's different. It's gross. It's bad. But as I've even just playing around with it now, like it's not looking as bad. Some of the things that I had a problem with, I don't have as much of a problem with now. I still think there's things that could be fixed and changed. And like I said, once this resource pack is completely done and they've made all their changes and done everything they want to do and think that it's a final product, I will probably go in and make my own changes to make everything fit what I like and what I'd want to see. Things like taking some of the purple out of the obsidian, fixing this cactus if they don't do that themselves, probably making the sand less bright, as I've done in my resource pack, because I think it does look really washed out. It doesn't help that I'm using shaders right now and everything is kind of bright, but yeah, I think I want to fix that, adding some shading to the logs and things like that. And I think that is enough about textures today. I didn't mean to spend the whole episode talking about them, but I guess there's just a lot to go over. We were going to work on this skeleton farm over there, but that we'll have to save for next episode. To finish off this episode, we are going to leave some presents for everyone. And I thought about doing it at their base, but I think instead we're going to leave them out here by Carl the Christmas Cactus. They can come visit our desert city and say hello to Carl, pick up their presents here. And we're going to leave everyone 2 dye vouchers, not diamonds. You can't use them to make tools. They're not allowed. You have to use them at the dye shop. Only redeemable at Cirque's Dynasium in sunny Sea Haven. So I'm going to put some chests around here. I'm going to put the dye vouchers in them. And then I think I will go around to everyone's base. Is that not enough room for chests? I guess not. I'll have to put a few more just kind of laying around. I think I will go over to everyone's base and leave either a book or a sign telling them to come out here. And I'll put it in the chat as well so people can see it there. But there we go. We got all of those. I'll fill these up with diamonds. I think we have 16 people on the server. Not everyone is really active at the moment, but I want to give them a chance to pick up their dye vouchers anyways. So I'll just leave this here for like a couple of weeks or something. And if people don't pick them up by then, well, I'll take them for myself. Anyways, that is going to do it for this episode. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I think that's going on right now. Any other holidays, a good winter solstice. I hope you have a wonderful new year, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye, folks.